Lesson 6.3 is solving equations with rational coefficients. And just a reminder that we're still trying to get x by itself. So the goal when solving equations is to get the variable by itself. It won't always be x, sometimes it might be y, k, j, who knows. The golden rule of equations, at this point you guys know this, but what you do to one side, you must do to the other. Okay, we're going to do a little review before we get started on this section. This piece isn't really review necessarily, but this symbol right here can mean division. And that is something that a lot of, I think you've been taught and you've heard, but it's hard to remember that. So people will see this and they have no idea, what do these four numbers mean? And so you divide it right here. So it means 1/2 divided by 1/2. So 1/2 divided by 1/2. And then we use our rules of dividing fractions. So we have 1/2, and then 1/2 becomes 2/1 because we have to flip, and then we change division to multiplication. The 2's can cancel out and become a 1 and a 1. So 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. So 1/2 divided by 1/2 is actually just 1. So that's just a reminder on how division of fractions works. Okay, here we have 16 divided by 25 hundredths. So we divide both sides by 25 hundredths because we're trying to get n by itself. And since that's multiplication happening there, we're going to use division to undo that multiplication. Okay, 25 hundredths divided by 25 hundredths we know is going to be 1. So that will just become an n right here. Sorry, I'm having trouble with my pen. We have an n right here. And then 16 divided by 2500 is 64. So we can write that as n equals 64. And I circle it, and that's my answer. 1b, here we have 10 equals 5/10 times x. So we circle our variable, we draw our sides. This is multiplication here, so to undo multiplication we use division. So we're going to divide by 5/10. And that leaves us with 1x on this side. And we end up with 20 on this side. So we rewrite that as x equals 20. I circle it, and that's my answer. So as you're seeing, the difference between rational numbers and whole numbers is not that different. We're still using division to undo multiplication. It's just getting used to that when we're dividing by rational numbers. Sometimes it makes our number bigger rather than smaller, and that's what we're not used to. Jay's coach agreed to buy ice cream for all of the team members. Ice cream cones are $2.40 each. Write and solve an equation to find how many cones the coach can buy with $30. So we know that they're $2.40 each. Each is always a keyword for multiplication. So if they're $2.40 times the number that he can buy, he can only spend $30. So we draw our line, we circle our variable. We're going to divide by the $2.40, and this cancels out, and we're left with x equals, when you do that division, you are going to get $12.50. And I might say, I'm sorry, it's not $12.50. We were talking about money. We're talking about how many ice cream cones can he buy. Well, he's not going to buy half of one, so he can buy 12 ice cream cones. Jamie wants to cut pieces of siding that are 3.5 feet long to fit between a window and the end of a house. If the original piece of siding is 20 feet long, write and solve an equation to find the total number of 3.5 feet long pieces she can cut. So we're talking about taking a big piece of siding that's 21 feet long, dividing it into as many pieces as we can that are 3.5 feet long. So we're going to take 3.5 feet times the number of pieces is going to equal 21 feet. We have our variable. We have both sides of our equation. We divide by 3.5. That cancels out, so we're left with x equals 6. So they will get 6 pieces. of siding. Here we have 3/4 x equals 12/20. We're going to circle our variable and draw our line to show the two sides of the equation. And this is 3/4 times x. So to undo that multiplication, we use division. So we divide both sides by 3/4. So we're left on this side with just x equals 12/20 divided by 3/4. And then we keep, flip, and change. 3 goes into 12, making this become a 4 and a 1. 4 goes into 20, making this a 1 and a 5. Multiply straight across, and we get 4/5. So I'm going to rewrite it over here. X equals 4/5. Circle it, and that's my answer. Here I have 2/5 x equals 6/15. So I circle the variable, draw the line to show the two sides of the equation. This is multiplication, so I'm going to use division. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2/5. And I have x equals 6/15 divided by 2/5. And I'm going to keep, flip, and change. Then I'm going to look and see if I can cross reduce. 2 goes into 6 3 times, so 6 becomes 3, 2 becomes 1. 5 goes into 15 3 times as well, so that becomes a 3 and this becomes a 1. Then I multiply straight across. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1, so x equals 1. I circle it, and that's my answer. Here I have -2/3 y equals 12, so I circle my variable, make a line to show my two sides of the equation. This is multiplication here, so I'm going to use division to divide by -2/3. The -2/3 divided by -2/3 is going to cancel out, so we're left with y equals 12 divided by -2/3. Now this 12 we know we can write as a fraction as 12/1, so we do 12 times, I'm going to leave the negative on top, I'm just going to flip the numbers. I'm going to have 12 times -3/2. 2 goes into 12 6 times, so 12 becomes 6, 2 becomes 1. 6 times -3 is -18/1. So I have y equals -18, and I circle it, and that's my answer. Mallory needs 2/3 yards of fabric to make each hat for the school play. Write and solve an equation to find how many hats she can make with 6 yards. So we're going to take 2/3 times the number of hats she's going to be able to make, and we have 6 yards of fabric to do that. So we divide by 2/3, and we have x, because these cancel out and make a 1, equals 6 divided by 2/3. And then we keep 6/1 times 3/2. 2 goes into 6 3 times. 2 becomes a 1. 3 times 3 equals 9. So we have 9/1. So this becomes 9 hats. And we circle it, and that's our answer. Samantha answered 4/5 of the questions on her science quiz correctly. If she answered 8 questions correctly, write and solve an equation to determine how many questions were on the quiz. So if she answered 4/5 of all the questions on the test, x represents all the questions on the test because we don't know how many there were, and we know that she got 8 correct, we divide by 4/5. We have x equals, and I wrote 5, 4/5. We have 8 divided by 4/5. We keep 8, flip, 5/4, multiply. 4 goes into 8 2 times. 2 times 5 is 10. So we have 10/1. So there were 8 questions on the test. Circle it, and that's my answer.